Mr. Rod,
What?
you're gonna have to assume your individual position.
I don't want one position, I want all positions.
Behind the neon colors and wild sci-fi chaos lies a production filled with secrets, tension, and shocking truths. These are the 10 dark behind-the-scenes facts that will forever change how you see The Fifth Element. Fact 1.
It was an ambush.
Luc Besson began writing The Fifth Element when he was just 16 years old. He wanted to create a sprawling space opera inspired by French comics like Valerian. By the time cameras rolled, he had rewritten it over a dozen times. Early drafts were much darker, focusing more on politics and human corruption. Besson originally imagined it as a trilogy. Budget limitations forced him to condense the entire story into one film. He collaborated with famed comic book artists Jean-Claude Mézières and Jean Giraud Moebius for world design. Moebius said Besson's early sketches were ambitious but chaotic. Many ideas never made it to the screen, including entire alien civilizations. The massive cityscape of New York was planned years before CGI made it possible. By the mid-90s, digital effects caught up with Besson's vision. He called the final shooting script a compromise between dream and reality. Even then, Besson continued rewriting during production. Some dialogue was changed on the day of shooting to fit the actor's delivery. Gary Oldman received revised pages hours before filming key scenes. Bruce Willis reportedly joked, "Every day is a new movie." The long gestation shaped the film's unique tone. It's a mix of teenage imagination and adult cynicism. The 20-year journey left scars on the production, but it also created one of sci-fi's most distinctive worlds. The Fifth Element wasn't just written, it was fought into existence. Besson later said that the script aged with him, shifting from a boy's dream to an adult's vision of humanity. That evolution is what gives the movie its strange blend of innocence and grit. Fact 2.
People lie.
Filming took place at Pinewood Studios in England and on massive sets in France. The scale of the production led to constant tension. Over 900 crew members worked simultaneously across departments. Besson's perfectionism caused frequent delays. He demanded dozens of takes for simple dialogue scenes. Bruce Willis, used to big-budget shoots, reportedly grew frustrated. Gary Oldman described the set as organized chaos with a French accent. At one point, the costume department worked 16-hour days for weeks. The elaborate alien outfits required constant repairs. Milla Jovovich's bandage costume had to be remade every few days due to wear. Heat from studio lights made latex and rubber suits unbearable. Extras playing Mangalores fainted multiple times on set. Pinewood's sound stages became like a pressure cooker. Besson was juggling practical effects, early CGI, and thousands of moving pieces. Crew members nicknamed the shoot the Big Stress. Despite the tension, the visuals pushed sci-fi filmmaking forward. Every frame required meticulous coordination. The strain on cast and crew was immense. Besson later admitted, "It nearly broke me." The movie's dazzling energy hides the exhaustion behind it. What you see on screen is cinematic joy, but behind the camera, it was survival. Several crew members later compared it to a battlefield, where creativity and fatigue clashed every day. That intensity is part of why the movie feels alive. It was born in pressure. Fact 3.
Want a cup of coffee? Yeah.
Before Bruce Willis signed on as Korben, several actors were considered. Mel Gibson was Besson's top choice but turned it down, saying the script was too weird. Jean Reno was also in talks, which would have made it a very different film. Even Arnold Schwarzenegger's name was floated during early casting discussions. Besson wanted someone with action chops but also a dry sense of humor. Willis initially passed due to scheduling conflicts. When production was delayed, his calendar opened and he came on board. He was drawn to the mix of action and absurd comedy. Willis adjusted his performance to fit Besson's vision of a reluctant hero. His chemistry with Milla Jovovich became one of the film's emotional anchors. Despite his calm presence on screen, Willis struggled with the constant rewrites. He improvised several of Korben's quieter moments. Fans often credit him with grounding the movie amidst the chaos. Had Mel Gibson accepted, the tone might have shifted darker. Willis's sardonic edge kept it balanced. He later said The Fifth Element was one of his most physically demanding shoots. Between wire work, fight scenes, and cramped sets, it tested his endurance. In the end, his casting became essential to the film's legacy. Korben Dallas is now one of Willis' most iconic roles, and it all hinged on a last-minute scheduling twist. Willis later admitted he was glad fate intervened, calling the role one of the most fun of his career. His laid-back hero helped humanize a world filled with madness. Fact 4.
You okay?
Leelu's divine language wasn't random gibberish. Luc Besson wrote a 400-word vocabulary with its own grammar. Milla Jovovich learned it phonetically and practiced for months. She eventually became fluent enough to improvise in the language. Besson and Jovovich even had full conversations off-camera using it. The goal was to make Leelu feel truly alien. Jovovich approached it like learning a real second language. She said it was the hardest acting challenge of my career. Every syllable had to sound consistent across scenes. Fans have since analyzed and cataloged the entire vocabulary. Some linguists call it one of cinema's most complex constructed languages. The script included translations for key lines. Jovovich used the language to convey emotion beyond words. Her performance turned a made-up tongue into something believable. Besson credited her with making Leelu more than just a sci-fi trope. He said she gave her a soul through sound. The language became a fan obsession. Conventions still host panels teaching Leelu speak. What began as a quirky idea became iconic, and it's all because Jovovich treated it seriously. Her commitment added depth to a character built from light and mystery. Leelu didn't just speak, she lived. Besson later revealed that Jovovich even suggested new words to expand the language's grammar. Her dedication turned an invented tongue into a living, breathing creation. Fact 5.
Take it off.
Jean-Paul Gaultier designed over 1,000 costumes for the movie. Every single background character had a custom outfit. Gaultier personally oversaw fittings for lead actors and extras. His futuristic designs pushed the boundaries of science fiction fashion, but they came at a massive cost. The costume budget ballooned beyond early estimates. At one point, Fox considered cutting several crowd scenes. Besson refused, insisting the costumes were part of the world building. Gaultier's attention to detail was obsessive. He even designed the inside linings of costumes that would never be seen. The bandage outfit for Leelu became instantly iconic. Gaultier said it represented vulnerability and rebirth. The Mangalore suits were so complex they took multiple people to put on. Crew members called them walking sweat boxes. Despite the challenges, the costumes helped define the film's look. They blended high fashion with gritty sci-fi in a way no movie had before. Today, they are studied in fashion schools and film design courses. Gaultier later admitted he lost money on the project due to the workload, but he called it the most creative experience of my career. The Fifth Element's style owes everything to his vision. Without those costumes, the world would have felt flat. Instead, it became unforgettable. Gaultier's designs gave the film its soul, making every frame a piece of wearable art. His work proved that costume design can be as powerful as visual effects in building a universe. Fact 6.
Oh, you speak English now?
Yes, I learned.
Good.
Gary Oldman's villain, Jean-Baptiste Emmanuel Zorg, is one of the movie's most memorable characters. But Oldman himself has said he can't stand watching his performance. He only agreed to do the role as a favor to Luc Besson, who had helped finance one of his earlier films. Oldman admitted he didn't fully understand the script while filming. He later said, "I did it for Luc, not for the story." Despite that, his eccentric take became iconic. Oldman based Zorg's speech patterns on a mix of Ross Perot and Bugs Bunny. The plastic hairpiece and southern accent were his own ideas. He wanted Zorg to feel ridiculous but dangerous. Besson loved the over-the-top energy and gave him complete freedom. Oldman improvised several of Zorg's lines, including the chaotic monologue about life, destruction, and order. Behind the scenes, Oldman wasn't happy with the production's constant delays. He clashed with costume designers over mobility in the elaborate outfits. At one point, he threatened to walk off set if the costume wasn't adjusted. Despite his personal frustrations, his performance anchored the film's villainy. Fans consider it one of his great character roles. Oldman still calls it a job for a friend rather than a passion project. Ironically, it became one of his most beloved roles worldwide. Sometimes actors don't see their own impact until years later, and Zorg proves that chaos can create genius. Oldman may hate it, but sci-fi fans worship it. Besson later admitted that without Oldman's unpredictable energy, the film would have lacked a true sense of menace. The actor's discomfort oddly gave Zorg a nervous, twitchy danger that fit perfectly. Fact 7. The famous operatic performance by the alien diva Laguna isn't just haunting, it's humanly impossible. Composer Eric Serra wrote the song with jumps in pitch no real singer could perform in one breath. In the studio, Albanian soprano Inva Milla recorded the parts separately. Engineers then digitally stitched the pieces together. Serra said he wanted the music to feel otherworldly, beyond human anatomy. When Milla first saw the sheet music, she laughed and said, "No one can sing this." Her voice combined with the digital edits created the ethereal effect. On set, actress Mai Wen performed the physical role while lip-syncing to Mulla's recording. The choreography was designed to match the breathless pacing of the track. The scene required dozens of takes due to costume malfunctions. The long tendrils of the diva's outfit tangled in stage equipment constantly. Besson insisted the dance convey grace and fragility at the same time. The moment when Leelu fights during the aria was carefully timed to the beat. Serra's composition blends classical opera with techno rhythms. The song became an instant cult favorite. Fans have tried to sing it live. Some use digital assistants to mimic the effect. Professional sopranos call it a challenge designed for aliens. Milla later said the experience was both thrilling and exhausting. The diva scene symbolizes the blending of beauty and chaos in the film. It's impossible by design, and that's what makes it unforgettable. To this day, the diva dance is used as a benchmark in vocal analysis software because of its complexity. It's a reminder that some of the most moving art comes from breaking the rules of reality. Fact 8. The fifth element pushed Milla Jovovich physically to her limits. Leelu's fight scenes required extensive stunt training. Jovovich performed most of her own action sequences. During one take, she slipped on a wet set and dislocated her shoulder. Filming paused while she received emergency treatment. She also suffered bruised ribs from wirework during the vertical shaft escape. The bandage costume offered no padding, making every fall more painful. Jovovich trained in multiple martial arts styles for the role, including capoeira and kung fu. Her dedication impressed the stunt team. Besson wanted Leelu to feel vulnerable, yet lethal. He believed using a stunt double too often would ruin that balance. Jovovich pushed through injuries to maintain continuity. At one point, she worked with a taped-up shoulder to finish the fight scene. She called the experience beautiful suffering. Her physicality added authenticity to Leelu's character. Fans often underestimate how much she endured for the role. The combination of combat and emotional scenes was grueling, but it cemented her as a sci-fi action icon. Besson later said, "She bled for Leelu, and that's why she's real." The fifth element demanded everything from her body, and she gave it. Jovovich later admitted that the role taught her pain, tolerance, and discipline she carried into Resident Evil. Her willingness to suffer for the character gave Leelu a fragility and strength no stunt double could fake. Fact 9. Despite its sprawling futuristic cityscapes, most of The Fifth Element was filmed on sound stages. The massive New York skyline was built as a combination of miniatures and digital composites. Only a handful of scenes used real outdoor locations. The Opera House was a heavily modified set inside Pinewood Studios. Even the desert scenes were shot on constructed sets with practical sand. Besson preferred full control over lighting and scale. This allowed him to create the dense, layered world he envisioned since his teens. The city scenes used forced perspective to make miniature buildings look massive. Some sets were so detailed they filled entire warehouses. Extras were filmed separately and composited into background shots. The indoor shooting schedule gave Besson freedom to tweak everything constantly, but it also meant long days without natural light for the cast. Bruce Willis said he sometimes forgot what time it was while filming. The claustrophobia added to the movie's unique energy. Even the flying car chase took place on a stage the size of a football field. Motion control cameras allowed them to repeat passes for perfect compositing. The result looks vast and open, but was built in controlled space. It's a testament to practical ingenuity meeting early digital effects. What looks like a massive universe was really walls and models, and it still holds up decades later. Besson later said he preferred the indoor approach because it made the world feel like a comic book panel. That sense of control over every frame is part of why the movie's visuals still feel unique today. Fact 10. When The Fifth Element wrapped production, executives were nervous. They feared the movie was too weird for mainstream audiences. The blend of comedy, opera, fashion, and sci-fi confused test screenings. Fox considered a limited release to minimize losses. Besson fought for a worldwide rollout. He believed the movie's visual spectacle would find an audience. Marketing teams struggled to pitch it in a single sentence. Was it action? Comedy? Opera in space? Critics predicted it would flop outside of Europe. When it premiered at Cannes, the reaction was explosive. Audiences gave it a standing ovation. Word of mouth spread quickly. The film grossed over $260 million worldwide, far surpassing expectations. It became the highest-grossing French-produced film at the time. The studio went from doubters to claiming credit for its success. The risk paid off in a way no one predicted. Its cult status only grew over the years. What was once too strange became beloved. Sometimes the weirdest visions are the ones that last. And The Fifth Element proved that bold, bizarre sci-fi could conquer the world. Besson later said the studio's fear was exactly why the movie needed to exist. It dared to be different. Its success showed that audiences sometimes crave the thing Hollywood thinks is too risky.